Hello, Nerd Universe, and welcome to episode 3 of Insert Nerd Topic Here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the magicians.
Big spoiler warning for those who haven't seen all 5 seasons of the show. The 5th and final season just aired a couple weeks ago, so if you're not completely caught up with the show, go watch it right now and then come back and give us a listen so that you don't miss anything and you don't get spoiled by anything we're about to talk about.
Because we have a lot to talk about.
We do.
I read the first book for this, so I have some of that bookish knowledge. We'll see what they changed for the show and what they decided could stay.
We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We're going to be talking about all the differences between the book and the show, or at least most of the differences. We're going to be talking about pretty much everything that happens on the show and everything that they kind of adapted in different ways. And we're just going to be giving our general thoughts on what we thought of the show, including the ending. So, again,
I have a lot of thoughts on that ending.
Warning. Yeah. And here we go.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Just to start off.
Yeah.
What is your favorite season?
I really like season 4 with everything that... It's just the main events of the season are awesome to me. And I think season 3 and 4, I think, are the best seasons.
I definitely think season 3 is my favorite. I just really love the whole quest they have involved, and it's like they have Fillory, and it's a whole new world, and it's all cool and stuff. I like season 4 too, but season 3 has a special place.
But I also like season 1 when it goes all the way back to the beginning, and you see Quentin kind of going to this new magic school and everything. That's just really cool to me. It's a very Hogwartsy thing. It's a very magic. Kid going to a magic school kind of thing. And I love that. That's cool.
You really can't go wrong with a kid going to magic school.
No. And I think the approach that they put into the show, I think is really, really cool. And I think the show adaptation, at least from what you've told me about the books, is quite good.
I would say that the show is, y'all can quote me on this one. You're never going to hear me say it again, but the show is better than the book.
That is a first.
That's a hot take. It's a new thing that I am not used to saying, but it's better. The show is better.
Yeah. I haven't read the books, but from what I've seen of the show and from what you've told me about the books, I would say that, yeah.
It's really interesting because the first book we go in the show, they have Breakbill's University as this big grad school.
Yeah.
And in the books, Quentin actually had not graduated from high school yet when he went to Breakbill's. So it's like in the books they're younger. I think by aging them for the show, that adds to, it's a new group of people, new age group. So it's less young adult and more new adult feeling.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Quentin's age, I think it's more appropriate in the show. Like, I think having it be a grad school kind of vibe instead of just primary college kind of vibe. Right? It was just he hasn't graduated high school yet, right?
The book, yeah.
He's still in high school. So I think it puts it for a more mature audience, and I personally like that. And I think it fits better with the overall theme. Especially
for a lot of the topics they cover in the show. Mm-hmm. Because like in the book, they go on vacation for like spring break, winter break, whatever they have in their world. And it's like he goes home to his parents and just lives at home. It's like, what? That's not what Quentin does. Quentin doesn't just go live at home. He stays on college campus and chills with his friends. So, I don't know. It definitely, the show, when I was reading that, I read the book after I watched most of the show. And usually I don't do that, but it just worked that way this time. But
no, definitely. I think the whole vibe of the show is really good. Do we want to talk about the ending right now?
Let's wait on the ending for a little bit. We'll cover some topics
for a little bit
first.
of reference. We literally just finished the show, probably about 30 minutes before recording this. So after having just freshly seen season 5, it's a bit of an interesting ending, but we'll get to that later.
We had to make it all fresh in our minds so that we could talk about it and get all real with it.
Yeah.
So one thing that I think really sticks out for me in the magicians in particular is their form of magic.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in a lot of different worlds with magic, you got like the you got the wand and you're waving it around and make symbols and stuff and you say the abracadabra words. But for this, it's like they do these really complex hand motions.
Yeah.
And that's just the way they do it in the show, especially. They do this in the book too. But when you're actually seeing it happen, it's so much cooler because it's like, wow, how are they doing that with their fingers? Like, it's just moving so perfectly and it's just going.
Yeah, and I think if you look at all the characters, I think Alice has like the most complex hand movements because she's a phosphomancer.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't know if being a phosphomancer has anything to do with that, but I think just watching her use her hands is really, it's kind of freaky at times.
Well, Alice
but it also is really cool.
Alice is better at magic, I'll dare say, than the rest of them.
Yeah,
but like even with Katie, who actually is not even part of the book, she's a unique character to the TV show.
Yeah,
she does battle magic a lot, and that's intense magic too.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of her doing those big gusts and big motions that nobody else does.
Yeah.
So,
and Alice is definitely best with like more complex spells and everything. I think that's why you see her doing more complex things with her hands.
She's really good at glyphs too, like writing things down and math. Ugh, math.
Math.
Who says they're good at math? But I don't know, the way and they have so many languages involved. Like, with like Harry Potter, it's like I wouldn't even say that's a language, would you?
No.
It's just like words that just
It's just spell language.
Well, it's Latin.
Yeah.
But they use like they use Latin.
Like they had stuff in Swahili and like Hindi and like a bunch of other languages, at least what they were showing off in the show.
And I think that's really cool. I think it brings together a bunch of different cultures, and that's something that I don't think you see very often.
No, yeah.
And I don't remember the different languages being part of the book necessarily because it wasn't that highlighted. But I think that's really good that they did that for the show because people that have those as their like native language can look at that and be, I don't know, they would feel at peace with that almost and be like, hey, there's my language up on the screen. Like,
yeah, and they weren't. It wasn't like, oh, they were just speaking Spanish or Latin or French or whatever. They were speaking like at least more distant tongues from the United States, at least, which is where the show takes place. So I think that is a pretty cool leap that they did, and I think that was very beneficial for the show. So we were talking about Alice for a little bit. So do you want to talk about her whole Niffin to human back or human to Niffin back to human again in the show, and how she pretty often switches sides?
I have a bone to pick with Alice.
Yes, I know you do.
Because I love her, don't get me wrong, but she does a lot of betraying her friends and doing selfish things and just in general being a know-it-all a lot.
Yeah, I think there's I'm paraphrasing here, but I think there's pretty much a direct quote from season 5 where she goes, "I know how to do this." Like she's talking to the botanist. And she's like, "Oh yeah," she's like, I know how to do this. And
I know how to math.
She's like, I know what I'm doing and I know it's right." And I'm like, okay, well that was pretty cocky.
You don't
bold.
need to be that way.
Yeah. Is she that way in the books?
She is.
Yeah.
They really put her pretty much into perspective of how she is in the book. She's quieter in the book, which I think they had a lot of in season 1.
Yeah, and she is definitely more outspoken by the end, for sure.
She breaks out of that shell a little bit. I think Quentin drags her out of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Speaking of women characters, I gotta say, I have a weird relationship with Julia.
Yeah.
She's good. I really wanted to shake her, though, at the beginning of the first season, because it's like,
she's a little gung-ho.
She's all like, oh, I'm a hedge witch now. I'm going to do all this magic stuff and no one can stop me. And I'm going to keep doing stuff.
Oh, and now I'm a goddess and no one can stop me because I'm a mortal.
Now I'm a goddess and then I'm going to give up all my powers to save magic. Yeah. But that's good.
But surprise, magic's still dead. And then it comes back.
No, she saves magic.
Oh, right.
At the end of season 3, when they save magic and they open up the gate or whatever.
Yeah, but then magic's in danger again, and then they...
Magic's always in danger.
It's always in danger. Since when is it not?
But I think that's really cool of her. And I actually think that at that point, when she gives up her deityhood, goddesshood, godhead, whatever you want to call it, that's when her character takes a turn for the better and actually starts being more involved in the actual main plot and actually caring about the other people and less about what's happening in her world. Because I don't remember what season this was. It might have been season 1 or season 2. I want to say season 1, where Julia literally curses Quentin with this mechanical bug thing. It's like a scarab or something, a scorpion, and that transports him into his mind.
Yeah.
And he was going to be stuck there forever. Who knows how long, and he would have died probably. And she did that just because she was mad at him. And
yeah, she had a pretty big ego in the beginning, and I think you sort of see that throughout pretty much the whole show. I mean, she still has it kind of at the end a little bit, especially when she's all like, we need to save the world. I don't care about anybody else. I don't care about saving my friends or whatever. And especially at the end, Penny's like, hold on, take a chill pill. Just like, calm down. Somebody else can save the world for a change. She's very persistent.
Well, the thing about that is we have to remember that at the end of season 4, she lost her best friend in the entire world. Quentin died at the end of season 4, and that was a huge hit to everybody.
Biggest hit
in the
ever.
Cast, and I
Biggest
cried.
Hit.
I cried for a long time. I watched that scene over and over again for days, and sometimes I still do, because it's a great scene. Take On Me, that is a great rendition. Changed my mind.
Much better than the original rendition.
I would have to say. But she's used to Quentin taking on all that kind of responsibility, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And she didn't have magic until the end after he died, because magic comes from sadness and pain. And so...
And I think like the last shot of season 4 is like her finally being able to do magic again.
It's her doing the cards. Like Quentin's signature card move, and she's like, is this Quentin? And it's like, no, it's her doing it. And she thought she gave up all her magic when she was giving it up to be immortal again. She didn't think she was going to get back the magic.
Yeah.
And she did. But it was only because Quentin died that she got it back.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool, and I think she really takes it personally that she has to take on all of the apocalypse and life-changing stuff because Quentin's not there to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think Q's death is definitely the hardest hitting point in the show, and I think that has a big effect on not just Julia, but pretty much every character.
Quentin is my favorite character, and I was so mad when he died. I cried so hard, and...
Because I think it also, not only did it have effect on Julia, obviously it had an effect on Alice, because they were dating at the time.
And Elliot.
And Elliot, who also, had a life
They
with
lived
Quentin.
an entire life together when they were in season 3, which again is my favorite season.
Yeah.
Because that's like, when they're doing the whole mosaic tiles thing, they're there for years trying to figure out the tiles.
Yeah, they literally have an entire life in that cycle.
Like they had
in the course of an episode, I think.
Yeah, it was an entire episode, and like I know Quentin got married. They had a son, and then they took care of that son for a while, and then they put him off into the world, and then Elliot died. I think we don't remember that a lot, but Elliot died in that episode.
Yeah.
And we had to do the whole time change thing, and he came back, but he was, for all intents and purposes, lived a whole life and then died.
Talk about another character that's been through a lot. Elliot he's gone full circle. From losing Quentin, from living a life with Quentin and then losing him, and then being possessed by the Beast.
Monster.
Well, actually, the Monster.
Beast is season 1.
Beast and the Monster. That is never going to slip my mind. Okay, so being possessed by the Monster, that was actually before Quentin died, and that's the whole reason why Quentin died, actually.
He died to save Elliot.
Yeah, and I think that hit Elliot pretty hard.
They never got to say goodbye. Not really.
Yeah, and I think that's what hurt him the most is that he didn't ever get to say goodbye.
But they had such a close relationship that I was really glad in season 4 when they put this in there that they talked about after that happened and they had the keys or whatever, and they were just talking in Fillory in their castle. And, Quentin's just like, well, what if we gave this a shot, What if we tried this?
What if we just tried having our life?
Yeah. And Elliot was like, that's not what you want. And eventually, Elliot pushes past the monster's consciousness and can tell Quentin that he's actually alive inside his own body.
Yeah.
Which I think is super cool. I really like that they put that in there. I think it shows their relationship is super strong and it's pure. They have a pure relationship.
And Quentin and Alice's relationship is also good too, for the most part. And I think it actually really helps Alice's character, because I think Alice, being the kind of bitter, kind of self-centered person that she is, and she's shy for the most part. And you said this before, that Quentin kind of brings her out of her shell a little bit. But I think their relationship is also really good, and I think obviously it hits Alice pretty hard when he dies too.
Well, at the beginning of the show, I really liked them together, and they're together in the book too.
Yeah.
But in the show, we have to remember that Alice's brother was dead. He died at Brakebills. And that was something that she went into school thinking about and knowing about, and that was really weird for her. It's a real impact. And Quentin kind of had to bring that out of her. And then when they were having the best part of their relationship, she turned into a Niffin.
Yeah. Well, she sacrificed herself for them.
She did. She sacrificed her entire being and became, I would say that's a monster too, or an otherworldly being. And then Quentin did everything he could to bring her back. And then she was so bitter and angry about that.
It's almost like she didn't even want to be brought back. And
it's
Quentin
because
was mad.
The knowledge. It's she wanted the knowledge. And when that came back together, she was so mad about it for so long that I feel like their relationship in the 4th season was forced. I'm going to go ahead and say that. I think they were feeling overpowered by Quentin and Elliot, that they wanted to push Alice on again.
Yeah.
Especially with how big of a part Alice's relationship with Quentin has in season 5. That they felt like they had to have that to set up.
Well, Alice as a character plays a huge role when she interacts with the library the most. And I think Alice is the bridge between the main characters. I mean, she is a main character, but she is the bridge between the other main characters and the library's storyline. I think they both kind of build on that, and I think they needed a way to kind of tie that in more. So they were like, "Oh well, let's just have them get back together. Why not?"
I guess
we'll have Alice and Quentin forgive each other.
They may as well be back together. What do you think about the library? Because I don't know. I think it's weird how in our world it's like, libraries, are all knowledge and it's perfect and it's a good little place to be. And then in this world, it's like the Netherlands, where the library is like evil almost. It's like everything bad.
It's not evil at first.
They're puppet masters.
They're very secret ventriloquists, kind of in the background, controlling people's lives. And with the whole book writing your story kind of thing,
I love that concept.
Like your story is written like as you speak. Like everything you do is written down in a book, and your ending is determined. Like.
Yeah, you already know what your last page is going to be.
You already know what the last page of your book's going to be, which is frightening.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just having a book? Would you read the last page if you had your book?
I wouldn't want to know.
I'd have to peek. I have too much curiosity. I feel like I couldn't.
I might want to know how, but not when.
That's valid.
So
if you say it's going to be like a heart attack, you're going to stay away from burgers and like greasy foods your entire life.
Yeah,
right?
But I know it's going to happen that way anyway. Like, it just will.
But would you try and change it? That's where I
don't know.
That's where the time gets all weird.
See, if I try to change it, is it going to make it happen another way?
It might.
I mean, it's inevitably going to happen, but.
I mean, that's how it is. Especially, I know in the show, the blank page was a big deal, where all of a sudden all books just stopped.
Yeah, and I remember Alice was trying to write people's books at some point, wasn't she?
She wanted to rewrite her ending so they couldn't find her.
Yeah, she was trying to basically write herself out of the library so that she wouldn't be there anymore, right?
No, what she was
doing... I'm stupid.
It was a confusing part.
Yeah.
She took out the part of when she was escaping.
Oh, okay.
And said that she was going somewhere else other than what it said in the book, so that she could be free, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I really like Quentin. He's my main character.
Yeah,
he is
for sure.
the main character. He is the only character that has a point of view in the book, and I think that's
that's a pretty interesting point, because in the show we obviously see multiple points from Quentin and Alice and Katie and Elliot and Margot
and Julia.
and Julia. And especially, I think having Katie in the show is a completely different perspective that we don't get out of the book, because you said in the book it's just Quentin's perspective, so you never really get any of the hedge witch kind of thing.
The hedge witch thing is that's a really cool thing that I can't believe wasn't in the book, and the whole timeline of the book is just kind of weird to me, because the whole first book is over a course of like 5 years.
Yeah.
Instead of like one long year, and it just jumps around to like the most important part of the year, like, oh, here we have like a tournament, and then here we're gonna go fly as geese to the South Pole, and we're just not gonna see any of the other stuff like studying in class. What's class?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I think something I knew this before I went into the book, but Margot in the book is named Janet Pluchinski.
Which, if you don't know, if you haven't watched the show, is the sort of alter ego / moniker / like, just nickname she kind of develops throughout the show. When everybody's mind gets erased at the beginning of season 5. Yes. At the beginning of season 5, and everybody's...
season 4.
No, season 4, because Quentin's there.
Yeah.
At the beginning of season 4, when everybody's mind's erased, she is is a fashion designer named Janet Pluchinski. And I find that really funny.
And then when they go to Fillory and they have to make a new name, because obviously she can't go by Margot if everybody thinks Margot's dead.
Yeah.
That she goes, oh, I'm Janet Pluchinski.
Yeah, and she joins the Centurions as Janet Pluchinski in season 5.
She is so much better as Margot than she ever could be as a Janet. Because Janet in the book was absolutely terrible. Let me tell you. Because, they called her annoying in the book, but not only that. In the show, I think she's my favorite female character because she's so empowering. And I don't usually like the whole female empowerment movement.
Just listen to the Marvel episode.
Yeah, but there's something about her that I'm just like, she's doing it right. And I really appreciate her attitude, and I like how she does things, and she gets things done.
Yeah, no, I think she's a great character too. And her relationship with Elliot's really cool too, and I like how they're really homey.
She sacrifices so much for everybody, but especially Elliot.
She literally sacrificed, like, at the very end of season 5, like the last episode, she actually almost, except Penny saves her at the very last second,
swoops in,
almost sacrifices herself for Josh and Elliot, which I think, is a pretty good turn for her character.
She learned that from Quentin too. She even said it.
She did.
And I think that's cool, because even when Quentin was alive, I feel like we didn't get a lot of Quentin and Margot. And there was a couple scenes with them together, but not a lot.
No, yeah.
And so the fact that Quentin made that kind of impact on her is really cool to me.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think she was kind of the only character, like when Quentin first died, I think she was kind of the only character that we didn't really see a immediate reaction from.
She was really holding it together, but she was also basically alone with Elliot, and we all know how he took Quentin's death.
He didn't take it well, no.
So I think that's really interesting. And even, oh God, we never talk about this either. Season 1, Elliot has a baby with Fen.
Oh, yeah.
That gets abducted by the fairies, which is eventually how Margot gets her fairy eye. But, we all gloss over that for the rest of the seasons.
The fact that Elliot had a baby.
And they're married.
Yeah.
That's brought up a couple times, even in season 5. And it's like, oh yeah, they're married. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he doesn't really treat her well.
No, but it was kind of a forced marriage. So.
She kind of accepts it, and she's just like, all right.
She's such a cool character, Fen. She's in the book, but she's not the same in the book as she is in the show, and I think she's better in the show.
I think in the show, she's kind of a comic relief character.
She can be.
She can be at times, because she's very, like, no, well, she hadn't been to Earth for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, all
up
the
until
things
that
that
point.
we think is so normal is she's
yeah.
like, oh, I've never heard that before.
And her coming to Earth and being like, whoa, this is what is New York like?
What is this sorcery?
What is this sorcery? Yeah, I think that's a really cool thing to see is someone coming to Earth for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that's really interesting the way they did that. Even though at the beginning I don't think she started off, I don't think they knew she was going to be the comic relief character, but she really became that way.
She definitely did. She and Josh a little bit too.
Oh, we love Josh. Josh was always going to be comic relief, and even in the books, he was comic relief.
Yeah, and you mentioned that in the book, or you mentioned in the notes that in the book, Josh is like pretty much in there from the very beginning.
So
At
in
least
in the first season,
Yeah.
when we're introduced to Elliot and Margot,
yeah,
at that exact same time in the book, we're introduced to Josh.
yeah.
So in the book, Josh is basically there from beginning to end. And I don't know if they were planning on having him in the show at the very beginning and then they realized,
Oh, we need to have Josh.
we need to have Josh,
Yeah.
that they put him in there eventually.
Yeah, because he comes in late in the first season, I believe.
Yeah, it's when they're in the Netherlands for the first time trying to figure out passageways.
And at that point, he's just a very minor character. Like he's only in a couple scenes. He only comes
Guest
in.
starring.
Yeah, guest starring. Yeah.
And then we
Josh
forget
Hartnett.
about him for a while.
Yeah.
And suddenly, one of my favorite episodes, when we finally actually start seeing more of Josh, is the musical episode where they do Under Pressure.
Yeah,
That's a good episode.
Yeah, the musical episodes in this show are interesting, and I think most of them they do a really good job with.
I think I liked all of them except for the last one they did, the one in season 5.
Yeah, the second to last episode is the musical episode in season 5. I agree with you. I don't think it was great.
I was a little disappointed. Some lip singing things looked.
Like Alice's lip syncing is super forced.
It looked sad, and
I don't know if I don't know if it's actually the actors that are doing the singing and then they're just lip syncing in the scenes, or if it's actual voice, like actual vocalists singing in place of them. I'm not entirely sure, but it could be either way. I have a feeling it could just be heavy editing. From an audio standpoint, I think that's probably what it is. It was the actual actors singing, perhaps, with just heavy editing. But
I mean, it sure sounded like her actual singing because we've heard pretty much everybody's actual singing.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of season 3. 4. The end of season. Getting all confused with all the numbers.
Yeah.
At the end of season 4, when they're all singing "Take on Me."
Yeah. No, that I think is them. And I definitely think. Seeing, especially with Alice is really noticeable with the lip syncing in the 5th season musical episode. Elliot does a pretty good job with it. I mean, they're the two that sing kind of the most prominently in that episode.
I love Elliot's voice.
But I think seeing that kind of took me out of it a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I definitely like the vibe of the musical episodes, though. At least most of them.
Yeah, the Under Pressure episode was really good.
That's so cool because it's like all of them are in a different place,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all singing together.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. And obviously, Take on Me, that hits hard. That hits really hard because that's right after Quentin's death, and everybody's gathered around the fire singing.
I still cry, y'all.
It is that is a pretty hard hitting moment. It's very emotional.
That's my sad song to listen to whenever I'm sad.
Yeah, I think they do musical episodes pretty well in comparison to a lot of other TV shows.
I think something that's really interesting that they did at the end of season 4, when Quentin was dead and in the afterlife, is when they brought back the original Penny.
Yeah, Penny 23. Yeah.
No, Penny 23 is the new one.
Oh, I'm sorry, Penny 40. Yes. Wow, timelines.
Yeah, timelines get all crossed.
Yeah, when they bring back original Penny, yeah, I thought that was a really cool moment too.
Not that I don't like Penny 23. I love both of them. Actually, I think I might like 23 more.
Yeah.
But I think that's really cool. We see a great...
Well, do you ship Penny with Katie or do you ship Penny with Julia?
I have to say, he's got to be with Katie. Like, they were there from the beginning, and she was such a... she was so mean to him.
Yeah, I know.
And she just broke him, and then she was like, oh, but I still want to be with you. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
You have to pick. Oh, that just makes me so angry. But we see him mature a lot between the actual his timeline and then when he's in the underworld. I want to talk about Fillory a little bit. I think Fillory is really interesting. I really like it. The fact that it's a place that Quentin has read about his entire life, and then he finally gets to be involved with it. I think that's really neat, and it shows that it's like something he finally gets to see that was part of his childhood.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's like if you went and saw Harry Potter's actual, like, Hogwarts in person.
Yeah, for me, like, me growing up with Star Wars and everything, like, if I went and saw, like, Tatooine for the first time, I would have been...
Yeah.
I mean, Tatooine's just a freaking desert, but, like...
No, but it's something like that, where it's, like, something so out of, like, I don't know, if you went to Rivendell, you know, in Lord of the Rings,
absolutely,
you'd be like, oh my god, it's real.
Or Gondor or something.
Or, something just amazing.
Yeah, I think
or, like, magic's
really cool.
real.
Yeah.
You know? So... they do a lot of really cool things in here. I really love this show. I'm a little mad about the ending. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It's a little disappointing, but there's always the chance that hashtag Save the Magicians gets it back up and running again.
There is a petition to keep the show going at least one more season. So hopefully that can get some steam. But if you haven't already, look at that. If you haven't already looked at that, please do.
If you haven't watched the show, first of all, why are you listening to this? Second of all,
why have you made it this far?
Go watch it. Because we spoiled everything for you. But it's a great show, and you really should watch it. I would say read the book, but just watch the show. It saves you some time, saves you some money.
As someone who has just seen the show, it's worth it.
Definitely. I think that's all we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it. So please stay tuned to hear about how you can contact us, and we hope to see you in the next episode.
Next week, we're going to be talking about Species Awareness, which is our new series. Vampires is our first one. Let's go. All right.
See you then. Bye.
Insert Nerd Topic Here is hosted by Caroline Vaught and Chris Rogers.
Connect with us on our social media pages. On Twitter @NerdTopicsPod. On Instagram @NerdTopicsPodcast. On Facebook, Insert Nerd Topic Here Podcast or @Nerd Topic Podcast. Or subscribe on YouTube, Insert Nerd Topic Here.
Reach out to us via email at insertnerdtopics@gmail.com. New episodes release every Saturday at noon Central Time. Thanks for listening.